didn't want to be an absentee father. Not that I was afraid to be deployed again, but you know, my priority was to stay there and not be deployed again. And I'd done my time. It's over 8 years, almost 9 years in the Marine Corps, and I figured if I stayed in another tour, once you get past 10, you might as well stay in 20. And I wanted to do something different with my life. And there was a cross on the hill in San Diego called the Mount Soledad Cross, and it'd been there since 1913 in one form or another, as a war memorial to the Korean War since 1954. There's plaques all around it of memorializing war dead and others. And in the middle of this this memorial is a Latin cross, and it overlooks the San Diego Bay. It's beautiful. My wife and I would go up there quite often on nice days to look out over the bay and watch the ships come in and see the aircraft carriers come in and out. But one atheist in the ACLU, one atheist that drives up and down I-5, was offended every time he looked up and saw the cross, and so he got the ACLU and federal judge to say tear it down. And on a Friday, the judge said tear it down, and he said tear it down by money or the city's going to get a $5,000 fine every day. The mayor said, I'm not going to fight it anymore, we don't have any money, so we're going to tear it down on Monday. Thomas More Law Center got involved and got Justice Kennedy to stop the mayor from tearing that cross down. They saved the cross. And that's the kind of law that I wanted to practice, I told my wife. I just said I didn't know that there were law firms out there that were conservative, that fought for the Constitution from a conservative point of view. I knew of the ACLU, of course, but I wasn't going to work for them. And so I sent a resume to Tom Monahan, who started the Thomas More Law Center. And I didn't know anything about Tom Monahan other than he Domino's Pizza and was a Marine. I figured, well, I eat Domino's Pizza and I was a Marine, maybe he'll be interested in me. And he was. He sent my resume to Dick Thompson, the former Oakland County prosecutor, who prosecuted Dr. Kevorkian, and many of you will remember that. And Dick flew me and my wife. I thought I was a real big shot because they flew me and my wife from San Diego to Detroit Metro, and they flew us up to where their offices were in Ann Arbor, and we loved it. Of course, it was July and it was beautiful, so it was very nice. But we did love it. And we loaded up our truck and moved from San Diego to Michigan, and the moving company told us that, this is no lie, the moving company told us that we were the only family that they moved from San Diego to Michigan that year. Most families, they said, were moving out of Michigan the other way, which is funny, but it's also sad, because traveling around this district, you know, Barack Obama said after he became president, him and Vice President Biden, I'll never forget, he said, we didn't know how bad it was. I'm like, if you guys didn't know how bad it was, nobody knows how bad it was. Because when you're out there every day, like a candidate is, you see how bad it is. Where the commissioner was just talking about that. You know, these 7 counties, writ large countrywide, it's bad. You know, when I go to these meetings and I see how many foreclosures there are, how many families whose kids and grandkids don't live here anymore because they can't get a job here, you know, it's frustrating. I'm sure it's frustrating to everybody here. And one of the goals that I want to have is to keep families together, keep families here, encourage families to move here, and then encourage children and grandchildren to move back here. Because Michigan is a great state. We have natural beauty, natural resources. We have one of the most educated populaces in the 50 states. Great institutions like Michigan State, University of Michigan, Hillsdale College, and some others. And yet we can't keep our people here because there's no jobs. And a lot of that has to do with having a government that's not friendly to job creation. Anyway, I digress. I came to work at the Thomas More Law Center for the last 3+ years, and I worked there as their spokesman and an attorney. I did First Amendment cases, religious liberty cases, national security cases. The biggest case I probably had was the Colonel Chisani case. Colonel Chisani was accused by Congressman John Murtha of covering up a massacre in Haditha in 2005, I believe it was, November 2005. Sorry. Really, it was an Al-Qaeda propaganda piece that said that the Marines that were involved in a real firefight had murdered civilians in cold blood. Congressman Murtha got on the floor of the House and said that these Marines murdered these Iraqis in cold blood. Got on every TV he could get on to say the same thing. Others said similar types of things, but he really pushed the envelope on it. It was during the 2006 midterm election when really the popularity of the Iraq War was at its nadir, and it was popular to be against the war. I'm sure Mark Schauer was against the